Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FLVC Online Teaching and Learning Excellence Month event Lightning Round session. I'm Tom Tu from Florida Virtual Campus. I am the moderator for today's session. Please join me in welcoming today's guest speaker, Dr. Scott Ortolano. Scott is an English professor at Florida Southwestern State College. He studies American literature, modernism, and perhaps most importantly, developing effective 21st century pedagogical strategies to meet the changing needs of students in first year writing classes, literature courses, and beyond. His publications on these topics include Popular Modernism and its Legacies, from Pop Literature to Video Game, published by Bloomsbury in 2018, and a co-authored OER textbook, Starting the Journey, An Introduction to College Writing, which was published by Press Books in 2023. More of his work is available on his personal website. We will share the link in chat momentarily as well. With that, Scott, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So everyone, I am opening up the chat box just so I've got it on the side. And without further ado, I will get going here then. So just in terms of what is in this presentation, the presentation has, sorry, I'm moving this toolbox around to the bottom there, get out of the way. This presentation has a little bit of background research just to give you some context, but I know it's a lightning presentation, so there's not going to be too much, just enough for context. Also, it's going to have some of my own experience with the student-teacher disconnected online courses and my use of small personalized videos as sort of a workaround solution for that. And then just some successes, drawbacks, and implications, as this is sort of something still in progress, right? I guess everything's kind of still in progress now, especially in today's world. So that's kind of the structure we're going to have. And really, this is a pretty small thing that I'm doing with the videos, but I think the small things can have a pretty big impact. And specifically, I want to call back to teacher scholar James Lang, who writes a lot for the Chronicle of Higher Ed, but he has a book on small teaching, everyday lessons from the science of learning that I really like. And what he really emphasizes there is that small but powerful modifications to our courses, course design and teaching can manifest really dramatic transformation to our courses. And I'm cautiously optimistic, hopeful that maybe this is one of those things. And so one thing we always talk a lot about, right, is the importance of presence in online courses. And instructor presence can be thought of as the virtual visibility of the instructor as perceived by the student. Does the student actually feel like they're really connecting with you on a personal level? Of course, when that's low, group members tend to feel disconnected, like they're on an island, right? Like they're just kind of working on their own. Maybe there are other people, but there's not really that sort of sense of community. And when you're able to increase that, it increases participation, involvement, and kind of performance across the board. This is kind of, I think, a generally understood precept, but I took those quotes from Credence Baker's article, and I have a works cited entry at the end that folks can follow. And I'm also happy to share this presentation afterward as well. So FSW, we use what we call departmental courses. And this is, according to our collective negotiations agreement on page 9, a course that the college has purchased for redistribution. And so these are we have faculty who get trained to do online teaching, and then there was another training called Dev 101, where you learn course design best practices and also practical skills. And when a course needs to, when a broadly taught course is required, there is a call that is sent out. Faculty members who meet certain qualifications apply, and they are basically given awarded the ability to create this course. They create a course map. They work closely with FSW Online to do this. They have They have additional support from FSW Design as they build the course. And when the course is released at the end, it goes through an institutional review to make sure it is up to a certain quality. And also it goes through a review with Quality Matters as well. It's an institutional quality matters review and then a formal Quality Matters review. And that just helps to make sure that these courses meet a certain standard. And so, for example, Composition 1 is a course that I built that followed this pattern because it is a widely taught course. We have full-time faculty members teach it. We have adjuncts teach it, in-person modalities, online courses, asynchronous online, and also live online where people sort of attend via Zoom. And so for the asynchronous courses especially, this is where the departmental courses are applicable. It helps to make sure that we've got quality control in those courses. And so maybe it does ensure that there is a good quality in those courses, but there is maybe one drawback. And sometimes, especially our adjuncts, there's some hesitancy to make the courses their own. In some fields, like some of our medical fields, there are limits, hard and fast limits on what people can change. And I think what I'm going to present today would work well in those disciplines as a solution, a way for people to personalize courses. And even in, for example, the English courses where people have maybe more freedom to modify the courses they've inherited, there's a lot of anxiety, especially amongst newer teachers, that they're going to sort of break the course. It's going to like blow up on them, which also I understand. And I think the solution I'm going to offer is a good first step that anyone can do on their first run in a class to kind of personalize it and create that sort of communal connection with students. Beyond giving feedbacks and announcements and all of that, I'm talking like the basic core material that students encounter in the course. So I'm at the end. This is my last research. It's not going to be all research, everyone. But one thing here is the importance of building a connection with online students. And that this is from Leanna Archambault and so co-authors, that personalized learning is often associated with technology-mediated solutions such as adaptive learning software. But what may be more valuable are the pedagogical approaches that support student motivation and engagement. And so although creating bonds with students may come naturally in an in-person setting, building those same relationships in online courses takes a lot of effort, right? It really does. It's more difficult to do that, I think, in online courses than in in-person courses to do that well. So where's the disconnect? An email story. So whenever I teach online courses, I'm always trying to find different ways to engage students. That's doing announcements, where hey, here's what you should be working on this week. End of week announcements, where you should be at right now. Feedback with students where they're hearing my voice, all this kind of standard practices. But one thing that would happen a lot in my online courses, especially a few years ago, was I would get student emails asking me questions where I knew the answer was spelled out in the student resources. And then oftentimes, even when having conversations with those students, I could tell that they had looked at the resources. The information was pretty clearly displayed, not just in one way, in multiple ways. Um, and they just really needed to have me kind of explain it to them outside of the assignment guidelines, outside of the standard course lectures, all of which conveyed the same information in a much just kind of more personal, informal setting. I was very happy to do that. Really was. But it did cost some time, right? Took up some office hour time. It caused delays for students because they'd have to find ways to, link up with me in a live conversation. Schedule reorganizations. It produced some disconnects that I was like, there's got to be a better way, especially because some of what they wanted was just some kind of like personal connection. And these questions happened at a much lower rate in my in-person courses. They were the sorts of things that I would say as I was walking around the room and talking about what we would do that day, passing out information, just kind of generally talking with students before class opened, or the things that would happen just in the informal little spaces. And so I was like, well, how can I reproduce these kind of informal moments that provide really important clarity, but I think also like a human connection and experience in these asynchronous online environments. And I came to a small teaching solution to borrow James Lang's words, and that is quick contextualizations in a way that mimicked those informal moments. Brief, light, informal at their core. And maybe even less practiced than a lot of the core course resources, which generally I would try to get as as perfect as I could. In some ways, I think these informal ones, the less perfect they were, the better they worked. So, what are these exactly again? They're brief, and I mean very brief. 1 minute. Sometimes I have an example that's less than 1 minute. 1 to 3 minutes. Just kind of here's what is happening on this page that you're looking at, and really kind of trying to recreate in-moment conversations that I would have with students. So again, striving to avoid perfection. I would have to mess something up really badly to re-record, and I would generally see a gaffe, a mispronunciation that I would correct in the moment, almost as like a positive thing, because it really emphasized the humanity of what was happening. Oh, there's me giving a thumbs up. And so where did I put these? And this is also a change. I put these everywhere. And this has started to creep into my ground course class process too. So not just in like weekly announcements at the start of modules saying, hey, here's what we're going through this week, kind of like I would do at the start of a class lecture, above quiz instructions, on top of assignment guidelines, even like minor scaffolding assignments, even when it wasn't complicated, maybe especially when it wasn't complicated, just kind of remediating and saying in different terms than the wording, what we were doing through. Sometimes students just really needed to hear me say it in a different way than it was written in the technical jargon. And even the tops of lecture pages, saying, I have an example of that if we have time, where I'm like, hey, there's some lectures, here's what's in the lectures. So it's kind of a pre-lecture setup. Which again is just kind of that informal thing that would happen before a class lecture really got underway to recreate that experience for them. Let me check the chat really quickly. Oh, we love Scott video. Thank you. So I have some quick different samples so you can see just sort of what I'm talking about here. I think this should play. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear the volume, or actually just interrupt and say something if you can't hear this? Hi, everyone. Dr. Ortolano here, and this module is going to think a lot about accessible document design. And on the road to doing that, we're also going to talk about copyright and fair use on the web. And so you're going to have a number of resources that are going to help you think a little bit more about this. I mean, this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, but an effectively designed document that's also accessible. Oh, sorry, I clicked the chat button and it paused my video. Or actually, I think you all get this. This is more of a standard module. I have two other videos that are shorter, but I think are a little different about things that we might not normally create videos for. So here's another one. This is for the scaffold activity in the same module. I'm Dr. Ortolano here. We're at the end of the module, the capstone activity. And all this is asking you to do is to apply the concepts to the essay that you're working on now. So you're going to create section headings for your essay. Don't overthink this. This is, you can go back to the lecture, look at the sample paper. It has exactly what you want. The title of your essay is a section heading 1. And then below that, a section heading level 2s, the different parts of your paper. So the introduction, some of the main papers of the argument, the conclusion, and then the works cited. And then after those, just write what makes them a good section heading. So subheading level 2s, I guess, are subheadings for level 1. We don't have to go below that. So, example, I'm looking into the screen, a difficult problem with no easy solution. That's one of the section headings in the sample essay, right? After that, you would just write the section covers how there's really no easy way to get rid of Brazilian pepper trees. Here's about quickly they reproduce and how. I'll stop there. But you get a section, an idea of what's there, and below that were the guidelines for the scaffolding activity, and then maybe most importantly, just kind of show how you informal they are. This is like a very quick 26-second instructions right before they submit the project in another class in the class. Finish the project, huh? Ready to turn in the assignment, eh? Maybe you are. Okay. If so, great. But do yourself one favor. Take a gander at the guidelines below one last time, and remember, turn in the link. Do turn in the link to the working project, not the editor link. If you can't remember what I mean by that, the video at the bottom of the page has the explanation. Okay, good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing what you came up with. And so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Really quick, brief videos that I really, as you can see, full of like personal missteps and gaffes that I would say in the moment, but I think also kind of help to reconnect the student, give the student idea that they're connecting to like a human being, right, on the other side. And I'm hoping kind of humanizes the course quite a bit. So once I did this, the number of email questions I got dropped pretty substantially. And I use this even in my ground courses uh, to give students some additional context because it reduces the amount of questions they have if they miss a class, if they not that our students do this, they completely zone me out when I'm explaining what's happening, and they need a refresher. They give me explain that to them, and so it's much easier also for me to direct them to resources so they can watch the video because if they ask a question, I just send them text back. Oftentimes, that's very unhelpful. And so, again, it helps to personalize these larger courses. Students feel like they're connecting with a human teacher. It effectively recreates the in-class experience. And the time investment here is minimal because you're not striving for perfection. I just hit record and I say what's going on in that thing. Very quick, very easy to do. Another great thing is this can kind of be played forward, okay? So you can pretty quickly, for instructors that are you teaching a course for the first time in the instructor resources tab, and I would always tell people to do this, there is an explanation of how to personalize the course. Actually, let me go, I added it as a new slide after this. This is exactly what I have in the Comp 1 Master course. It's go to all the videos at the top of each module or activity, watch them, hit record in Kaltura, and just repeat what I said in your own words. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then the students are getting this connection with you as a teacher in a really cool way that, won't affect the course content, doesn't take you long. It probably the whole thing like a couple of hours for a semester-long course. And it'll help students kind of have that resonance with you as a teacher. And so I really think that's some great potential. But, and I'm winding up here, don't worry, I'll have time for questions. There are some challenges and shortcomings. One, we had videos like this before for some of our departmental courses, not to that extent, but people wouldn't show their face. And I really thought that was a misstep in terms of having that human connection. But the downside to showing your face is one, the anxiety of showing your face, right? It comes with a lot of anxiety, but also you become the face of the class. So it happens all the time because this is a large section course. I'll be walking around campus and someone will say, "Hey, I think you're my comp teacher." And I'll immediately know this is not my student because I know my students are, who my students are. And they will, then say that someone else is teaching the course, but they're my videos. And in my videos, I strategically say at different points, me or whoever your professor may be, because maybe your professor is using this course, will do blah, 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 as just kind of telegraphing that to them. But as soon as that happens, and it doesn't just happen on campus, my son's in first grade. He had a school event, and one of the other parents had taken my course, but from someone else. As soon as it happens, I feel like I have confidence in the course, but I'm always like, oh my gosh, I hope this person teaching the course is doing a good job because they're associating it with me. So that is a downside. You become an unexpected face of the course, but those have all been incredibly positive. And sometimes the student will ask me a question and I'm able to answer it because, of course, I know how the course works. Another downside, it can be difficult. You can't require faculty members to do this, right? If you're an instructional designer or you run an online program for your school, you can't require instructors to put their face on a camera for all sorts of reasons. Some of them legal, some of them like legitimate. So people probably have to opt into it. When I did this, I thought most faculty members that taught the course would do the quick videos, at least for the modules, which is really what I suggested. And what I've realized is almost no one's done that. And so that's something that has not gone the way I planned. And I still think the students are getting that personal connection with me in the course, but I don't know if they're getting it with the instructor in the way that I was hoping they would when I sort of adapted this practice. But I'm also, as Dr. Jester will say, still spreading the good word about this strategy at the college. And I think that just might need some positive inertia to build. So again, yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's continuing. And I'm going to go back to my friend James Lang here and say, the good thing to do, that's always something I try to do, is to ask yourself, what are the common challenges that faculty on your campus are facing right now? And how can small thinking and small changes lead to new solutions to these problems? In this context, I really think I've stumbled upon something that it's not going to be a panacea to like major problems, but it can really be a really force for good in these sorts of learning environments. And that's my works cited page.